Hello, everyone. I'm Nivek Thompson. I think most of you have had emails and text messages from me. So welcome so much for coming today. And I'd like to thank you very much for being part of this session. My very first thing is to hand over to your Mayor, Councillor Bruce Lancashire, to say a few words.
Womanjika. Well, on behalf of Brimbank Council, I respectfully acknowledge and recognise the Wurundjeri and Bunurong peoples as the traditional custodians of this land and pay respect to their elders past, present and future. Good evening. On behalf of Brimbank City Council, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this very first meeting of the Brimbank Community Voice group. It's lovely to see so many of you online today. Firstly, I'd like to extend my thanks to each of you for putting your hand up to be part of the Brimbank Community Voice. As a member, you will have the opportunity to share your views and ideas with Council on many matters and work with other residents to shape the future of our city. Engaging with the community and your ideas and feedback is very important to Council as we work to create a better Brimbank. Our community is richly diverse and we want to hear all viewpoints. I am therefore very happy to say that people of different ages, genders, cultures, identities and abilities have answered the call to be part of Brimbank Community Voice. This means that the Brimbank Community Voice is very representative of our community. We look forward to working with you to get your views and feedback on many important topics. And now I'd like to hand over to Nivek Thompson for the next part of this session.
Move on to our next presentation, which is from the CEO of Council, Fiona Blair. And Fiona's going to tell you a little bit more about the panel and why Council set that up. So if I could hand over to you.
Thank you, Nivek. And a really big thank you to everyone for your responses and coming along tonight. I'm Fiona Blair, the Chief Executive Officer of Brimbank City Council, and we are really pleased that you have joined this exciting new group to share your views and ideas and help shape Brimbank's future. Council's job is to support the transformation of Brimbank into a beautiful, thriving, healthy and connected city. And to achieve this vision, we all need to work together. So you might have wondered why we set up the Brimbank Community Voice panel when Council already consults so extensively with the community. But we know that many community members want to be more involved in shaping Brimbank's future, which is why we created the Brimbank Community Voice. As members of the Community Voice, you have registered to take part in our council surveys, workshops, focus groups, discussions, and much more. The feedback and ideas that you are going to provide are going to help shape the future of our city. So together, you will help to increase the representation of diverse groups in our consultations and bring those voices forward. For instance, you'll be a valuable resource when we need to better understand community opinion on topics or new ideas. As panel members, you'll also have the opportunity to help when we need community members to help us test and trial new services to see what works, what could be improved before a new service is rolled out. So essentially, this group is going to help us to design and deliver services that meet your needs and the community's needs. You're going to be able to participate in activities that suit your interests and availability. So there's no minimum time commitment required, and you can choose to participate when it suits your schedule. So I'd like to just give you a little bit of a brief snapshot about Council and our key areas of focus. So I'm sure many of you know that the City of Brimbank is one of the largest municipalities in Victoria, and our latest census data tells us that Brimbank is more culturally diverse than ever before, with a greater proportion of our residents born overseas. As of 2021, our estimated population was 197,000, making it the fifth most populous municipality in Greater Melbourne. Unfortunately, we are also the second most disadvantaged municipality in Greater Melbourne, and this shapes our needs and requirements. Council, as part of their council plan, has developed a division which captures the aspirations for the Brimbank community. And it is a transformed Brimbank that is beautiful, thriving, healthy and connected. Guided by the Together We Are Brimbank plan, we focus our work on 4 key areas, and they are people and community, places and spaces, opportunity and prosperity, and leadership and governance. We've been making strong progress to ensure Brimbank is a welcoming, inclusive and safe place that supports well-being, belonging, participation and community pride. We continue to advocate to both state and federal governments to support transformational change in our city. And we've also been working to address a number of key local challenges, including climate change, the COVID-19 recovery, mental health and well-being, and the shifting demographics and government policy as well. All of these have had a great impact on how our community and on how and what services we deliver to the community. Under Council's draft budget and annual action plan for 2023 and 2024, Council's top priorities for the year ahead are improving parks and roads, upgrading sporting and community facilities, and addressing climate change. The draft annual budget also includes investment in key works and initiatives that will support community health and well-being and contribute to the overall livability of our city. This will help us to build a community where people can thrive and a city we can all be proud of. In closing, I really want to thank you all again for being part of the Brimbank Community Voice. And we are all really looking forward to working with you for a better Brimbank. And you can absolutely be assured that we are going to welcome your ideas and views for our city. I'll now hand back to Navette to take you through how we are going to work with you. Thanks again for everyone's time this evening.
First off, I'm going to introduce myself. As I said, I think most of you have had some dealings with me. I'm handling the recruitment and ongoing support for Brimbank Community Voice. I run a small consultancy called Deliberately Engaging, and I'm the single point of contact between Community Voice members and council. That's to make it easier in terms of not having lots of different people sending you emails and you're not knowing, who they are or what they're about. I'll also, on behalf of council, be distributing a regular newsletter, as well as I'll be coordinating the various input. So if someone in council would like input from Community Voice members, they'll go to Kate, and who will come to me, and we'll organise that. I think all of you have got my phone number and email address. I think one thing you're probably all wondering about is how people are selected to participate in different activities. And the answer really is it depends. So sometimes council will want to hear from everybody on the Community Voice, and we'll be sending out, for instance, a link to a survey or something like that to every single person on Community Voice. Other times, people in council will want input from a specific group. So, for instance, they might want it from people under 25 or from people that come from a particular cultural background or people that live in a particular part of the LGA. Be wanting to allow everybody in a particular group, so everybody under 25 can participate. Other times council might be, for instance, having a focus group and they want 10 participants under 25. Where there's limited places, I'll be responsible for selecting the people from those who indicate they're interested and available. I won't be selecting on the basis of anything I know about you other than to get a diverse group. So, for instance, if I have 20 people say they want to do something and I've only got positions for 10, my aim will be to get as diverse a group as possible. So I'll be wanting to get a mix of men and women and other genders. I'll be wanting to get people from different places across the LGA. So that's how I'll do it. I won't be making any personal decisions. I'll be looking at demographics to get a diverse group as the 10 people. The sort of consultations that are likely to be coming up, every single council in Victoria has a community engagement policy, and when it was first established, all of them had to engage with their community. Brimbank's wanting to review and update that, so they'll be seeking your input. We want to know what you think about how to improve communication with the broader community, not just yourselves, although we will want that as well. There's some work coming up, focus groups around neighbourhood character. There's going to be input requested around parks and sporting facilities. So that's just a few of the things that are coming up in the next month or two for you to be involved in. If you have any feedback or concerns about the Community Voice or your role on Community Voice, or things to do with your work in that area, you can send them to me via phone or email or text if you want. You can choose to remain anonymous vis-a-vis council. Obviously, I'll know who you are. And, you can see there that we will aim to respond quickly to your concerns. I'm just going to go back up. If you've got a complaint about me, then you'll use the standard council complaints system. So, feel free to come to me if if you feel I haven't done something properly, but you don't have to come to me. You can go to the council's usual complaints system, which you'll be able to find. We'll tell you about later. But if it's a complaint about council, I guess, or just feedback about how the system's running, that comes to me. Now, council's put together a handbook for Brimbank Community Voice members. It's just being designed at the moment, so it should be available by the end of this week, and it will be put up on a web page that we're establishing for you, and I'll tell you about it in a minute. And I'll also email it out to everybody in as an electronic document. So the Brimbank Community Voice Membership Handbook covers the terms of reference, which I think all of you already have, deals with a little bit about local government in Brimbank, similar to what Fiona's taken us through tonight. It explains how to create a profile on Your Say, which is the Brimbank Community Engagement website. If you don't already have a profile there, we'd ask you to create one. And once you've done that, you let me know that you've done it. There's details and a how-to in the handbook. And then we'll make sure that you are added to the private page for members of Community Voice. We'll put a copy of the recording of this webinar, plus other information of interest to you. But don't worry, we will also email out information. The handbook also sets out the deliberately engaging privacy policy so that you understand how I deal with your information in line with the Australian privacy principles. And I don't provide any of your demographic details against your name to council unless you give me permission. I do let council know the overall demographic makeup of the panel, but they don't have your personal details unless you allow me to do that. We cover the participant selection process, which I've covered tonight, FAQs, which were on the website earlier, but they're now in the handbook, more information on feedback and complaints. And again, the two types are set out there. And then general council contacts if you need anything. So now, if you've got any questions about the Community Voice or anything you've heard tonight, you can start to add those to the Q&A section. So please don't use the chat. I know a few of you have been putting comments there, but if you've actually got a question about Community Voice, please put them in the Q&A of the webinar, and that way it'll make it easier for us to manage. Now I'm going to stop.
Nivek, we've had a few questions. A few people asked the same question, which is how many people are part of Brimbank Community Voice?
Okay, so we've got just under 300 people registered to be part of the Brimbank Community Voice. So that's a really great number. Kate, you might like to explain future opening up the panel again.
Yes, happy to. So what we're going to do now is have a look at who we're hearing from in Brimbank Community Voice, and if there's any segments of our community that are underrepresented and we're not hearing from in the voice, then we'll do targeted recruitment later in the year. So we're looking at doing recruitment twice a year and focusing on people who aren't represented.
All the demographics be identified, and you might remember when you registered to be part of Brimbank Community Voice that you were asked a number of demographic questions. You were asked, were you a resident only? Were you a ratepayer who lived outside, so like a landlord, or someone perhaps building your home? And you were asked a range of questions about your age, your gender, if you spoke another language other than English. Those are the sort of demographics that I will be providing to council, and we'll put up on the the page for the Community Voice, so you can see what the range of people are that are on the Community Voice with you. So the example of 10 was just an example for perhaps a workshop. Council will still be undertaking broader consultations. Kate or Marion, would you like to respond to that?
I'm happy to respond to that. So I'll use our neighbourhood character and housing strategy as an example. In our pre-consultation phase, when we're first developing our draft strategy, we will run a consultation with community voice members. And this is where you will have a unique opportunity to attend a focus group in a smaller number and be part of the original development of the strategy. Then we will run broader consultations with the broad community around the draft plan. So we're still going to do a wide range of consultations, both public ones and smaller ones with the community voice. And there'll be lots of different things running.
Okay, so we've got a question about are we going to be seeking feedback on current or long-term strategic opportunities? So I'll make a start at that. Both is the answer. So the community voice is going to be in place for for a period of time, and during that time there will be current issues and there will be longer term issues. I think some of the ones that I went through tonight in the presentation, some are short, are sort of current issues, and others are longer term issues. In terms of the community engagement policy, that lasts forever, although council does seek to update it over time to reflect changing situations, changing circumstances, and so on. Kate, do you want to add to that?
I think that is pretty accurate. It will cover short-term projects. It will cover long-term strategies, maybe even as long as 10 years. It will vary project to project, both short and long-term.
Okay, so the next question is a very good question, because the answer is feedback and complaints about Brimbank Community Voice come to me. Feedback and complaints about me go to council through their usual complaints process. And feedback and complaints about council generally, other than the community voice, go through the usual channels. And when you get the handbook, there's information there about how to access those usual channels if you're not already familiar with them. Okay, I know your say application does not allow applicants to identify all their diverse identities. Kate, I'm going to get you to answer that. Oh, so you're saying sexuality, cultural background. Mm-hmm.
With the Your Say page, we want it to be as accessible to the general public as possible, and we want to remove barriers to people signing up. Some people aren't comfortable disclosing all of their different identities. So to remove barriers to people signing up, we haven't asked all of those questions. We did ask those questions as part of the community voice, which is what you have all answered when you signed up. So by being part of this group, that gives us a better ability to be able to track that we're hearing from those different identities. But we don't capture that on Your Say because we do want it to be open to everyone and everyone to feel comfortable registering.
Thanks, Kate. So the community voice is a new thing for Brimbank Council, and so it is going to exist for a period of time, and there'll be an evaluation, and then council will decide whether to continue for another couple of years or indefinitely, but that decision hasn't been made yet. That's my understanding, Kate. Would that be correct? Okay, all right. If we're asked to provide feedback on a topic, then how will we get notified? Yes. Okay, so that's definitely something that's going to happen here. So the newsletter that comes out probably monthly or bi-monthly will give you include requests for input, and will include updates on what happened with previous input that you've provided. So there'll be feedback about what has happened. So we're definitely going to let you know that. Sometimes you'll get a request to participate separately to the newsletter if it's something that's sort of urgent or happens between newsletters. But in each newsletter, we'll make sure that we let you know what's happened in result of your feedback. So there will be that closing the loop. Will the public have input in identifying their needs? Kate, I'll just...
I think we might help to have a bit more clarity around what Patrick is asking specifically there. I think we take a lot of feedback regularly, and we have a lot of different interfaces with the public. We work with them in how we develop our projects, our plans, our strategies. So generally we do seek to take public feedback in identifying what their needs are. And this panel is the community voice. The idea is that it will help us in identifying the public's needs. So this is another avenue through which the public can have a say and help us understand what their needs are.
Fantastic. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So the next one, will the council provide a plan of its longer term goals and aspirations? So councils already have a number of plans. They have, an annual plan, a financial plan, And they are required by the Victorian government when they do their 4-yearly plans to consult with the public. When's your next consultation due, Kate?
Our current council plan runs till 2025. So I would imagine we would start consulting in 2024. So probably next year.
Yeah, and one of the things that's required by the Local Government Act for councils doing that consultation is to use deliberative engagement principles, and that the panel will probably be used to support some of those deliberative engagement approaches, because that involves being able to put together a group that is a cross section of all of the community, and that's where we would use those demographics as well to make sure that we were able to do that. So the next question is, will consultations be conducted face-to-face or online, and how often? So they could be either. So there'll be some that are online, some that are online meetings, if you like, Zoom meetings, some that'll be online in the sense of it's just a survey. When I say just a survey, but you don't have to go to a meeting, you can do it at your own leisure when you want to. Some of it will be face-to-face. And at the moment, I couldn't really say how often. We're waiting to see. We know we've got 4 things already that people want to do from council. And Kate set up a process where people across council can let her know when they want something, and then we can contact you to be involved. So it's a bit hard to say at the moment, but I would think that there's not going to be sort of 6 months between consultations. It's going to be fairly regular. The thing to know is that it's really, there's no requirement. It's not mandated as being a member of Brimbank Community Voice, you must do everything you're offered to do. It's up to you to, if it's something that you're interested in, if you have the time to do it. We're not going to sort of say, well, you haven't answered the first 2 things and so you're off. Obviously, at some point down the track, if you don't want to be on the voice anymore, you can leave, but don't leave because you feel that you haven't been able to be involved in the last 2 consultations, because it's really, we recognise that people have got lives outside of Brimbank Community Voice. What are the measurements of success for the Brimbank Community Voice program? What outcomes of the program will be considered? This is a good question. One of the questions we asked you tonight, or a couple of the questions we asked you tonight, we'll probably ask again to see whether your point of view has changed over the period. And we will be looking at the success from 2 perspectives, from the perspective of Community Voice members, whether you found it useful and valuable, and from the perspective of council staff, did they find it useful, and so on. So, Kate, is there anything you'd like to add there?
We'll also be tracking who we're hearing from in the different Community Voice consultations, and through that, we'll be able to also measure if we're hearing from more diverse voices and different voices. So that will also be considered in how we measure success.
Fantastic. All right. In terms of the question from Shannon about diversity, we'll identify the diversity through the information you provided when you registered to become a member of Community Voice. Okay, so in terms of making consultation processes accessible to people with a disability, we collected information from people when they registered if they needed support to participate, and we will look at that whenever we're running a consultation process. Council's committed to making sure that they provide support that they know is needed. So obviously some of it's pretty straightforward, accessibility and so on, but other things, be asking people each time there's a consultation if there's something we can do to support them, if they need accessible processes or they need other support. There's one member of the Community Voice who doesn't have an email, doesn't have internet, and so obviously we'll be supporting her participation in a different way to everybody else's. So we're certainly going to do our very best there, and if anybody has any concerns about being able to participate, they should just let us know so that we can address that. So that's it. You've done it again. Will we be able to contribute ideas and be part of the decision making? The legal decision making rests with the councillors, the mayor and the other councillors, but certainly the whole idea of setting this up is to give you a much greater say and give council a way of reaching people more effectively than perhaps just putting out a call through public through the newspaper or whatever. By signing up, we now have a group of people that we can access quickly and involve easily. And, we hope you'll enjoy being part of that. So one of the things we asked people when they registered was if they needed translation support, and some people did do that. We also asked people if they, were comfortable with the internet or needed support. And they, a few people did tell us that they needed that. And as I said a minute ago, we do have one member who doesn't even have internet, but, I posted her invitation to the face-to-face and called her up and so on. So, Kate, have you got any idea how you'd like to respond to Roger? I'm not sure.
Yep. So again, Roger, that will depend on the project. For some of our bigger, longer term projects, a working group might be established who meet at stages throughout the project to work on it. For some of our smaller, shorter term projects or strategies, it might just be a one-off. So it will depend. But for bigger projects, there could be working groups formed. It really just depends on the project.
Okay, so Jason has asked about the response rate. We've just had just under 300 people respond, which is a really good response rate from any community, really. So, look, we're really pleased that you signed up, and we now know what you'd like to be consulted upon, as well as what council's got already up its sleeve in terms of that. And hopefully, we'll be able to work together to make your community better. So, thank you so much. And we'll certainly be keeping a record of all the questions and putting those up on the Community Voice page. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating. I think we've managed to finish early, which is wonderful. And so I'd like to thank the Mayor and the CEO for participating tonight and taking the time to be with you. I think that demonstrates the level of commitment from Council to Brimbank Community Voice. And we'll really pleased that you signed up, and we now know what you'd like to be consulted upon, as well as what council's got already up its sleeve in terms of that. And hopefully we'll be able to work together to make your community better. So thank you so much.